Everyone has a foundational memory of borrowing a video game and discovering a whole new world. Having a friend thrusting their copy of something you'd never have otherwise tried and finding out that, hey, you actually like RPGs or turn-based strategy or tactical espionage action used to be a crucial and universal part of the inherently shared experience that is video game enjoyment. PlayStation's decision to end physical disc production in January 2028 may as well have been a decision to cleave that shared experience in two. There's a kind of magic to physical ownership, the feeling of unwrapping a game for the first time at Christmas, having a flick through the manual, discovering bonus goodies like a map or art cards. Many of those aspects have been eroded away by time and the push for cheaper production, but there's one thing we haven't lost just yet: choice. You might keep that game for 10 years or give it to a friend to play within 10 days. Whatever happens to that game is up to you. Whoever plays it next, whenever it's played next, the beloved experience remains the same. A physical copy of a game is frozen in amber. They can never change. It's the only way games like Grand Theft Auto 4, Alan Wake and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 can maintain their original and often iconic music licenses. Publishers can't hijack them and remove the classic tracks because their deals have expired. But above all this, ownership matters because it's an investment. It's an investment players themselves make in their life because they believe in the video game experience. Whether you're 15 years old picking up extra shifts at your first job, or 50 years old blocking out a weekend to enjoy a long-awaited release, the future of what happens with that video game should lie with the person who's bought it and them alone. So why are our video games slipping out of our hands right now more than ever? To understand that, we need to understand DRM. Buying a game on a digital store feels like ownership. You pay some money and the thing you bought goes onto something analogous to a shelf, and you can play it whenever you want, just like a real physical copy. But there's a key difference. Sony can't break into your house and take away your Spider-Man disc. DRM, or digital rights management, is the process of being granted a license whenever we purchase content through digital storefronts. What you've bought is effectively a long-term loan from the publisher to the player. As a result, it can be taken away from you at any time. The video game industry's knotty entanglement with DRM has been ongoing for years, but it really ramped up in the 2010s, with publishers claiming the key purpose was to prevent piracy. Infamous incidents involving SimCity and Diablo 3 in the early 2010s, where always-online DRM became a mandatory requirement for the first time, saw server malfunctions locking players out of their games entirely, whilst other times saw players log into games only to find their cloud-based saves had seemingly vanished into thin air.
EA has decided to disable some of the game's non-essential features to soothe some of the server problems that are preventing players from accessing it, or even worse, causing crashes and loss of save data.
DRM games are like a penny on an invisible string. You pick something up that you think you'll always have, only to have it suddenly snatched out of your hands with little choice but to accept that. Take Steam, for example. When you load up a game via Valve's launcher, a hidden process happens between the storefront and the publisher, which essentially asks, is this person allowed to access this? Think of it as millions of digital threads linking up to one big chain. All it takes is for the publisher to yank on that, or indeed to be dragged away by the ever-present financial turbulence tearing the industry apart, and everyone's access disappears. Often when games are delisted, it's due to copyright licenses expiring, or simply a desire on the publisher side to free up server infrastructure, regardless of the impact that may have on their customers. The list of games now near extinct due to digital delisting is extensive. Spec Ops: The Line, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, Deadpool and Super Mario Maker, to name a few. Now, with physical discs on the chopping block, the only format those games can currently be found in, we should expect this list to balloon exponentially. So, why is PlayStation doing this? It has claimed it's merely following consumer trends. Unfortunately, this isn't entirely incorrect. The physical video game market has been in a marked decline. In May 2016, consumer spend was just over $6 billion. As of May this year, it's barely past $1.5 billion. Although it's worth noting that was a 3% growth, the first year-on-year growth since 2009. In PlayStation's case specifically, the shift becomes more pronounced. In 2016, 27 of every 100 PlayStation games were purchased digitally. As of this year, it is now 78 out of 100. Hardware leakers have also reported that the PS6's manufacturing costs are pushing close to $1,000, and with PlayStation boss Hideki Nishino stating that it's not realistic for Sony to front these ever-ballooning hardware costs, streamlining the PS6 as a singular digital-only console would assist in lowering prices. For them, not for you. PlayStation isn't alone in this. Nintendo's game key cards for the Switch 2 and Xbox's over-reliance on Game Pass reflect an industry-wide shift towards a digital-only future. And it's not just the publishers. Developers must bear some responsibility for injuring physical's future too. Over 22% of IO Interactive's 007 First Light European sales were physical, which is a significant statistic in and of itself and a clear sign of a viable physical market. Except IO Interactive shipped a physical disc containing only the first mission, requiring players to download a hefty day one patch to actually make the game they purchased playable.
Not exactly the 5-star treatment.
What value does a physical disc even have if it just becomes a download key? At least as of right now, it can still be borrowed by a friend that way, but if someone at IO turns the servers off, it's just an expensive way of keeping rings off your coffee table. The end of disc production doesn't just threaten borrowing, but potentially the entire second-hand market ecosystem. Many players over the years, once bored of their collection, have found their way down to a local GameStop in the US or CX in the UK to trade in their games, and in the process, collect a few new ones while they're in store. Think of them as recycling plants for video games. As one player closes the book on The Witcher 3, another one opens it for the first time. Second-hand stores have served as gateways for players to experience the extensive back catalogue of past and present consoles alike, often at an alluring discount. Publishers have tried to throttle the second-hand market in the past, with the likes of Electronic Arts gating on-disc content via one-time keys accessible in brand new copies only, a system that meant any second-hand copy of Battlefield 3, for instance, couldn't access the online multiplayer modes. But some have decried PlayStation's decision as ringing the ultimate death knell for the second-hand market. At least you could play some of EA's games without an online pass. Without physical discs, there is no second-hand market at all. But it doesn't have to be that way. One pathway forward could be through the creation of a fully digital second-hand marketplace. Digital game storefront Good Old Games has championed itself as the first fully anti-DRM retailer. Essentially, even if the games get delisted from their storefront, it doesn't matter. If you downloaded one of its games, you can keep it on a hard drive and play it. No internet required, forever. Maybe GOG's approach could be evolved to give players even more autonomy, an online hub filled with individual user storefronts operated by the players themselves like a digital yard sale. Players could browse one another's wares, combing through for a good deal or a brand new gem they've never heard of, much like GOG's extensive partnership program or World of Books' author share initiative, which donates a portion of all used book sales to the authors who originally penned them. Publishers and developers could take a percentage of each sale in exchange for ensuring that ownership exchange of each digital title begins with the player handing it over and ends with the player purchasing it. No DRM middleman in sight. This could also provide a second life for pre-owned retailers like GameStop and CEX, thereby ensuring a key subsection of the video game market continues to be served whilst, for the first time ever, actively incorporating the publishers and developers as financial participants. Idealistically, this could see a greater cash injection flowing into the industry, an alternative that would be much welcomed by many a developer over publishers' hyper-focus on making their own live service cash cow. And of course, that wouldn't be a perfect solution, and it's far from the only one. An alternative direction would be for players to seek out third-party alternatives to get their discs, like boutique publishing houses. Limited Run Games, Fangamer, and Super Rare Games are just some of the companies whose mission statement is clear: to take digital games out of your console and put something real back into your hands. Limited Run Games initially began with humble indie origins and have since expanded to work with the likes of Capcom and Sega, proving the feasibility of these companies to scale their operations to meet traditional brick-and-mortar publishers' expectations. If PlayStation's lack of disclosure over cutting disc production to its AAA publishing partners is true, it could well be those same partners have just as strong a desire to continue physical publishing as their fan bases, making for a potentially very bright future for these boutique publishing houses. Of course, that does require some sort of disk drive add-on being made available for the PlayStation 6, something you'd hope would happen given the backwards compatibility implications, but it's hardly a given. PlayStation's decision serves as a harbinger for a potentially dire future for gamers everywhere. It is entirely self-serving and will have ripple effects throughout the industry that we can only begin to speculate on. The immense backlash on social media to PlayStation's own social posts has become its own news story, and there's always potential that such heavy negativity may cause publishing partners to hit pause on their PlayStation social marketing efforts. Gamers have every right to be angry. We're being challenged on the future of our right to own the things we've paid for. Allowing this to pass unscathed would open the door to myriad bad decisions. How we respond to this decision over the next year may define how the next decade of the video game industry is shaped. The official slogan of the PlayStation 5 is "Play has no limits." If we don't make a stand now, well, that can be shortened, can't it? But what do you think? Is a digital-only future something you're not bothered about? Or is this a red line for you in console ownership entirely? Let us know in the comments, chuck us a like and subscribe, keep it IGN, and remember, above all, remain calm.